This still blows my mind every time I open Instagram. I never thought I was gonna see numbers like this. Like, it's crazy. And I was able to do that in like less than 60 days. Before I tell you guys how I did that, I'm gonna give you some context first. So I'm a macro photographer, and I mostly enjoy going on walks through trails and stuff like that, taking pictures of bugs, water droplets, flowers, anything small and interesting. I first started posting on Instagram in 2020, which is only like 3 years ago. I started out with a really cheap macro set, and I was posting pictures like this. They weren't the best quality, but I tried adding some flair to it, tried to play around with the colors, just try and stand out a bit in the macro community. And doing that, I think I was able to grow to around a couple hundred followers, but I was also liking and commenting and following a bunch of other people within that niche in order to try and bring in more followers that way as well. Because I knew my quality of work just wasn't there, so I was just trying to be a nice person within the community. I eventually upgraded my camera and my lens, so I was able to have an actual macro lens, and I ended up getting a Sony a7 III, which boosted my quality so much better, and you can definitely see the transition within my Instagram feed. After increasing the quality of my photos, I was able to start gaining more followers. People were asking me what kind of gear I was using, the lenses and stuff like that, because they also wanted to have a quality like that. Now fast forward a year or two, I started posting on TikTok, because that's where the buzz was. And I started to do more macro content on there. First, I was doing portrait stuff, but I wasn't really feeling it. And then I started getting more and more into the macro stuff because of the new equipment I got. And I saw that there wasn't a lot of macro photography going on in TikTok, so I thought I could stand out. I eventually started to grow my followers on TikTok, and I finally popped off with a couple of videos, one doing like 9 million views and another one doing like 1.5 million views. From those two videos alone, I think I was able to have about 1,000 or more come to my Instagram and follow me there. So I was around probably 2,000 at that point. I then saw the potential of short form content videos that was going on in TikTok, and then obviously, you know, Instagram released Reels because they didn't want to get left behind. So I started to come up with stuff for Reels and see how I could do on there. At first, I didn't really know what to post. So I just started doing collages of photos that I've done before. It was a trend for photographers on Instagram just to have like a cool audio and then a bunch of your photos just going through like a slideshow. Those videos for me didn't do as well at first, but then, you know, once my quality improved and I just got lucky with one of the audios maybe, I started to see a lot more views, and I was probably able to gain another 1,000 followers from a couple of my reels that blew up to like a couple 100,000 views. So I was at maybe around 3,500, 4,000 followers before I did this thing that kind of made me blow up. So I live in Canada, and every single year we get winter, obviously. And that's the time of year as a macro photographer that I don't really like, because I love the spring and summertime, because those are the best times to capture bugs and plants and stuff like that. In the wintertime, everything's dead. Sure, you can sometimes capture pictures of snowflakes, which are really cool and really amazing, but it's all dependent on the weather. So I had to try and think of something else I could try and post. I didn't want to go a whole winter again without posting anything, because that's what I did the last year. So as I was trying to think of something new to do through the wintertime, I started to look at the followers that I had. I tried to see who was following me at that time, and I noticed there was a lot of other macro photographers. I did have like everyday people come from TikTok, so that I think kind of messed up the algorithm a bit with my following, because I had macro photographers and then I just had like everyday people following me. But I started to think, it's very difficult to try and grow a following with your competitors, because really, I mean, you're not really competitors, but when you're on Instagram, you're kind of competing with whatever niche that you're dealing with on your Instagram. So yeah, it was cool to have other macro photographers follow me and stuff, but I knew it was going to be difficult to grow because my quality wasn't quite at the standards of like these really amazing photographers on Instagram already that have been posting for years, way before me. So I started to lean more towards the everyday person, and I was thinking to myself, what kind of content could I create that would intrigue and bring in anyone at all? Because then I could open up my audience and maybe bring in new people to the niche. I didn't have to have people that were already in the niche. Now, through a lot of trial and error, going through multiple ideas, I finally came across one that definitely stuck and everybody seemed to enjoy. What I did was I created a game and a series. I used my passion for macro photography to take pictures of food in my kitchen. Yes, you heard it right. I blew up because of food in my kitchen. I created this game and series called Guess the Food in My Kitchen. And what I would do is I'd go into my fridge, my pantry, anywhere at all, and I'd try and find something interesting with a lot of texture on it. I'd take a really close macro photo of it, zoom in even more, and then I would post that and have people guess what it was. And then I also made it so that they had to wait and see the next video to see the answer. And in doing this, I had people commenting to try and get the answer, and then I also had them waiting for my next post to to see what it was, to see if they got it right. And I'll be honest, the first video did not do that well, but what I did is I went into the comments when I posted my second video with the answer. I would go through all the comments and say, nope, you didn't get it right. Go to the next video, I just posted it, and I'd go through all of them that got it wrong. If somebody got it right, I'd give them a little winky face or something like that, but then I also told them to go to the next video, and a lot of people did. And so with the first 5 videos of this series, I would do that. I'd go through all the comments. Sometimes there'd be like, I think it was around 50 comments or so, give or take. And so it took me a while, but I had those reoccurring watchers and they just kept going to each video to see if they got it right. And it created this like snowball effect, and people started sharing it, and it started to be like this really fun game that people would play with like their friends and their family. And what was interesting is that this series was doing a lot better on Instagram. It was still doing decent on TikTok, but I found it very interesting that it was taking more to Instagram. So by creating this game that people could play using the niche that I love, and by interacting with the community and commenting on all of the comments and even the DMs that people would send me, I would, interact with the people, and that was the main focus, was to interact with the people. I was creating content for them, not for me. And I think that's how I was able to stand out. If you're a photographer on Instagram and you're just posting pictures of your work, yeah, you're sharing it and you're creating content for people, I guess, but at the same time, you're kind of just showing off in a sense. You're creating it for yourself and you're posting it for yourself. And if you're an amazing photographer, obviously do that, because you'll be able to grow a following because of the amazing work that you do. But if you're mediocre like me, you can't grow a large following, do that. I needed to think outside the box, and I wanted to create something for the followers, for the people on Instagram. And the best part about doing that is that I was getting a lot more DMs, I was getting a lot more comments about people just like really enjoying what I was doing. Some people would say they would go like binge watch all of the series that I was doing, and they watch it with their families, with their friends. They would have like these nights where they could see if their one friend could get it or if the other one could get it. And then they started looking at my other content that I was posting, like my bug photos, and they really liked that stuff. So then when I did post a photo, I was getting a lot more likes and a lot more comments. I was eventually getting way too many comments on my videos. I wasn't able to go through all of them and say like, yeah, you got it, or no, you didn't, because they would just take up too much of my time. So I would just scroll through them, see if anybody got it right, and then I would make the next video and I would tag that person in it, so that way they could also get like mention in my videos. And a lot of people wanted that too. I think they just wanted to be like in front, have their name in front of a bunch of people. I eventually had people commenting not just their guesses for the series, but I also had them giving me suggestions in my DMs and stuff like that for what I should have for the next guessing game. And I was like, well, sometimes I don't have the stuff that you're talking about, or I think it'd be too easy. So I didn't want to disappoint people. So then I created another series of just like macro fan suggestions. So that way people could send in their suggestions of what they want to see in macro, and they can interact with me, I'm interacting with them, and people are just able to connect with me a lot better than if I was just posting random pictures of bugs. So they were able to like build my content with me and interact. Another reason I think people enjoyed my content was because I was showing my face and I was talking to them in a way as if I was talking to them in real life. I wasn't being this host of some game show. I was talking to them as if they were right in front of me. And what seems to be a good thing to have these days on your short form content is captions. I made sure to have captions on all my videos. That way people can like read it if they have some impairment, or if I know a lot of people don't have the sound on some of their videos, if they're like on a train or if they're going somewhere, that way they just read the content. And since I post photos, they just need to see the photo. So I think that helped too, to bring in other groups of people. Now, I'm not saying that you need to be in front of your camera, you need to have a personality in order to blow up on Instagram or TikTok, but I think there's definitely something to it. And to be honest, I wasn't always comfortable in front of the camera. My first TikTok or first Instagram reels were absolutely trash. It took me a year and a bit, maybe even 2 years, to get comfortable in front of the camera, to be able to talk like a normal person and not just like a robot and hello. So all I'm saying with that is to practice being in front of the camera, get used to it, have your natural personality come out, and that'll attract the people that you'd want to be around, and to have your content enjoyed by a group of people that you know are gonna like it. I apologize if you thought this was gonna be a how-to video of how to get a lot of followers, but this is just me explaining to you what I did and my 2 cents on some things that might help you grow on Instagram. I think a lot of it has to do with creating content for the viewer, interacting with them, staying true to what you want to create, keeping up with the new things that Instagram puts out, like Reels, unfortunately, and probably a little bit of luck. If you got anything out of this video from me, I hope it was some inspiration to keep at it, keep creating, and to enjoy what you do. And in return, others will enjoy it too. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Until next time, have a good one.